We're live from New Delhi. You're watching DD India News, India's voice to the world. I'm Lipakshi Khurana. Coming up in the next hour. US President, European leaders call on Iran to stand down its threats of an attack on Israel, express support for Israel against Iranian aggression. Reuters say Blinken headed for West Asia amid high tensions in the region. Russia says Ukraine's attack is aimed at ceasefire negotiations. Ukrainian President Zelensky terms Ukraine's cross-border assault a matter of security. Donald Trump accuses Kamala Harris of copying his election agenda like no tax and tips. Comes down heavily on Biden for the immigration crisis. Says will go back to Butler, where he was shot at in July. Elon Musk's interview with Donald Trump on social media platform X starts after getting delayed due to a massive cyber attack. FBI already investigating Trump's allegation that his campaign was hacked by Iran. Doctors across India continue to protest the alleged rape and murder of Kolkata doctor. Indian Medical Association writes to Health Minister JP Nadda, seeks safety for women doctors. Well, on to the details now. US President Joe Biden spoke on Monday to the leaders of France, Germany, Italy and the UK to discuss de-escalating tensions in the Middle East and a ceasefire in Gaza. In a joint statement released by the White House on Monday, the leaders of all 5 countries said they endorsed a call from the United States, Qatar and Egypt for a renewal of talks for a Gaza ceasefire to conclude a deal as soon as possible. Monday's joint statement stressed there is no further time to lose. It also expressed support for Israel against any Iranian threat, while urging distribution and delivery of aid to Gaza. The leaders also called on Iran to stand down its ongoing threats of a military attack against Israel and discuss the serious consequences for regional security should such an attack take place. And the White House, meanwhile, said the U.S. has prepared for what could be significant attacks by Iran or its proxies as soon as this week. White House National Security spokesperson John Kirby on Monday said the U.S. had increased its regional force posture and shared Israel's concerns about a possible Iranian-backed attack after Iran and terror group Hamas accused Israel of carrying out the assassination of Hamas chief. On the other hand, British Prime Minister Keir Starmer meanwhile spoke with Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian on Monday as part of de-escalation efforts to ease tensions in the Middle East. Pictures shared online by 10 Downing Street showed Starmer on a phone with a caption saying he was talking to Pezeshkian. UK PM asked Iranian President to refrain from attacking Israel and saying that war was not in anyone's interest. Starmer told Pezeshkian that he was deeply concerned by the situation in the Middle East and called on all parties to de-escalate to avoid further regional confrontation. Well, Israel has meanwhile said it is monitoring developments in Iran regarding a threatened strike against it. Israeli military spokesperson Rear Admiral Daniel Hagari said the military has not issued new safety guidelines to public, but if needed would update the home front about any changes as quickly as possible.
We are following what is going on specifically with Iran. With all our capabilities, we are also not following alone. We are following with the United States and other partners. We take seriously the statements and remarks by our enemies, and therefore we are at peak preparedness for attack and defense, and we will act according to the instructions of the political level.
Well, the Biden administration on Monday said it expects Gaza peace talks to move forward as planned. State Department Deputy Spokesperson Vedant Patel, speaking to reporters at a briefing, said the department fully expects talks to continue and that it would continue to work with the parties involved, adding that agreement was still possible.
So I'm aware of those comments from Hamas, and we fully expect talks to move forward as they should. All negotiators should return to the table and bring this deal to conclusion. We believe that there has been headway made, but we need to finalize this agreement, continue to close and bridge some gaps. But we believe that an agreement is possible, and that's something that we're going to continue to work between the parties.
Well, according to sources, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken is scheduled to travel to the Middle East on Tuesday amid high tensions in the region. As per the reports, Blinken has stops planned in Qatar, Egypt and Israel. Meanwhile, United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres on Monday condemned the continued loss of life in Gaza conflict and urged both sides to rejoin and conclude a ceasefire and hostages release deal.
He welcomes the mediation efforts of the United States, Egypt, and Qatar leaders, and urges both sides to rejoin negotiations and conclude the ceasefire and hostages release deal. The Secretary General reiterates his urgent appeal for an immediate ceasefire and the unconditional release of all hostages. He also again underscores the need to ensure the protection of civilians and for unimpeded and safe humanitarian access into and across Gaza.
Well, the United States is deeply concerned by reports that Iran is planning to deliver hundreds of ballistic missiles to Russia. State Department Deputy Spokesperson Vedant Patel emphasized on Monday that if this transfer occurs, it would mark a significant escalation.
We are deeply concerned by reports that Iran is planning to deliver hundreds of ballistic missiles to Russia, and we continue to communicate with our European partners and allies regarding potential measures we may take. We are prepared to deliver a swift and severe response if Iran were to move forward with the transfer of ballistic missiles, which would, in our view, represent a dramatic escalation in Iran's support for Russia's war of aggression against Ukraine.
Well, more than 3 years after imposing limits on human rights grounds over Saudi strikes in Yemen, the United States on Monday confirmed that it would resume sales of offensive weapons to Saudi Arabia. State Department spokesperson Vedant Patel in a press briefing said the U.S. will return to weapon sales in regular order with appropriate congressional notification and consultation. Patel further said Saudi Arabia has remained a close strategic partner of the United States and the U.S. looks forward to enhancing that partnership. Also, the U.S. Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump's interview with billionaire entrepreneur Elon Musk finally got underway on Musk's social media platform X following a lengthy delay caused by technical problems that kept many users from accessing the live stream. Musk said that massive cyber attack on X led to the issue. The internet can have bad players, and sometimes those bad players find different ways to harass or manipulate others. A denial of service or DOS or distributed denial of service DDoS attack is one of those ways. These attacks may render a device temporarily unable to connect to the internet. And for more on the interview, we have Nick Harper joining us from Washington. Well, Nick, the interview started almost with a 40 minutes delay. Do the technical issues with the interview add another layer of complication to Musk's and Trump's public engagements on X?
Yeah, absolutely. It certainly wasn't the start that either of them were hoping for. There was no way that people could get online. Like many others, I was trying to log on. I was faced with a page that simply said that the space was not available, and there was an emoji of a monkey holding its head in its hands. That was not the firework type start that both men were hoping for. For Donald Trump, this was an opportunity for him to get into the social media space, a space that really has been dominated by his rival Harris over the last few weeks since she took over from Joe Biden. She's managed to captivate many within her party. She's been able to create viral memes and able to effectively launch attacks on Donald Trump.
Right.
She, of course, as well as the Democrats, say that he has struggled in that space, and he was aiming to not just prove that he is able to capture new voters online, but also was hoping to use it as a fundraising opportunity. So 40 minutes of technical problems. Their conversation did get underway. It is still going on, hitting nearly the 2-hour mark now. An opportunity for them to discuss many ideas that they hold close to their hearts and ideas that they agree on. This certainly hasn't been a probing interview by the tech billionaire.
All right. Nick, can you give us the highlights of the interview till now?
Yeah, absolutely. On foreign policy, he said that Joe Biden, and remember, Joe Biden is no longer the man that he's facing in November's election, but he spent much of the 2 hours attacking Joe Biden. He said that Joe Biden was really the reason why we've seen the Ukraine conflict, that if he himself, Donald Trump, was still president, Vladimir Putin would not have dared to invade Ukraine. He also suggested that the conflict between Israel and Hamas was as a direct result of Joe Biden's policy. He spent a lot of the conversation speaking about immigration, suggesting between 50 to 60 million people from around the world will come into the United States illegally if the Democrats win in November, saying that most of them come from jails, that they're let out by their governments and essentially deported to the United States to enter illegally. He also spoke about his assassination attempt and said that he would make the economy better. And he had some choice words for his rival, Kamala Harris. He called her a third-rate phony candidate, called her a liar, and quite simply said that she was incompetent. He's managed to speak about many of the things that he talks about at rallies, but at this stage, the headlines here are being dominated not by the actual caliber of the conversation, but rather those technical glitches at the start.
All right, Nick. Also, as you mentioned that Trump enumerated on what he believes are Biden's failings, he emphasized on the impact of Iran-Israel crisis and the mishandling of the situation and the impact on America's standing in the world. Trump also continues to criticize Biden's handling of foreign affairs, particularly the ongoing conflict in Ukraine. Did he say something on that?
He did. He spoke about the fact that if he had been president, that conflict would have not have taken place, that President Vladimir Putin essentially would not have dared to invade Ukraine. I mean, it's interesting to note that obviously his rival in this election is Kamala Harris, but he's spending a lot of time in his speeches at rallies during the course of this 2-hour conversation, essentially litigating what he sees as the failures of President Biden, a man that he is no longer going up against, speaking about how Biden has failed, how he has been a weak president, obviously trying to tie those perceived failures to his vice president, Kamala Harris, but spending much of the time saying that essentially Biden had not been strong enough as president to stand up to dominant world leaders, and suggesting that he himself, if he had won the 2020 election, would have been able to prevent those conflicts quite simply just by his force of character.
All right. Thank you so much, Nick, for all that update from Washington. And moving on, U.S. former President Donald Trump, in his conversation with Elon Musk, came out heavily against his Democrat rival Kamala Harris. As we told earlier, he attacked President Joe Biden for allowing a massive immigration in USA. He accused Kamala Harris for copying his election agenda like no tax on tips. He also said that Kamala Harris was not trying to speak on illegal immigration and copying him, but that was never her agenda for the last 3.5 years. Trump used a phrase for Kamala Harris, saying that she is copying him so much that she wants to become more Trump than Trump. He accused U.S. President Joe Biden to indicting the political opponents like him. He also accused Biden-Harris of increasing inflation and wasting billions of dollars on purchasing oil that could have been extracted from USA itself. He said U.S. has more reserve oil and gas than Saudi Arabia, only in Alaska. Speaking on bid to assassinate him, Trump said that it was just a miracle that he's alive. Trump, in his free-flowing interview with Musk, said there would not have been war between Russia and Ukraine had he been the president. Trump also claimed that Hamas would not have dared and there would not have been war with Israel if he were at the White House. He said that during his regime, had enforced strong sanctions against Iran, and so Iran had no money to fund Hamas. He accused Biden of being soft to Iran. While praising Israel's Iron Dome system, he said the U.S. will also have the best Iron Dome in the world and that it will be made in the United States only. The former U.S. president also highlighted the threat of nuclear war and need to stop proliferation. And still to come in DD India News Hour. Amid fire at Russian-controlled Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant, the IAEA warned that these attacks endanger nuclear safety and increase the risk of a nuclear accident. The United States has denied any role in ousting Bangladesh Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina amid accusations from her. And Greece's worst wildfire this year spread into the Athens suburbs, forcing hundreds of people to flee as evacuations ordered in many areas.
We have with us a very special guest, Olympic bronze medalist Swapnil Kusale. When we talk about you and your journey from TTE to an Olympic bronze medalist,
journey is quite long and lots of challenges I faced, but it's a good journey for me till now, so I'm happy.
You got a call from Prime Minister Narendra Modi.
He called and say Namaskar Bhau, kaise aap, like in Marathi language, so it was good to hear that.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Now. Lepakshi Khurana, and moving on, Russia continues to evacuate people from its regions that border Ukraine. On Monday, evacuation was announced in areas of Belgorod region, and in Kursk, over 120,000 have already been displaced. Russian President Vladimir Putin said the goal of Ukraine's attacks in Kursk was to stop Russia's advances in Donbass and to sow discord among Russians. DD India's Desha Chanishova has more from Moscow on this.
Moscow is sending additional forces and means to build up a group of troops fighting the Ukrainian incursion in its border region of Kursk. On Monday, Kursk region acting governor admitted Ukraine has control over 28 settlements in his region. Speaking at the meeting with Russian President, Alexei Smirnov added that the incursion is about 12 kilometers deep and 40 kilometers wide. He said that more than 120,000 people have been displaced and the evacuation were ongoing. On Monday, neighboring Belgorod region also ordered evacuations of the civilians from one of its border areas, and President Vladimir Putin promised a, quote, worthy response to the Ukrainian incursion, which he says is aimed at destabilizing Russia. Putin said Ukraine was also trying to improve its negotiating positions ahead of possible ceasefire talks.
It is becoming obvious and clear now why the Kiev regime had refused our proposals to return to a peaceful settlement plan, as well as the proposals of entrusted and neutral mediators. It appears that the enemy, with the help of its Western masters, is fulfilling their will, and the West is fighting us with the hands of the Ukrainians. So it looks like the enemy seeks to improve its negotiating positions in the future.
But he noted that during the Kursk incursion, Russian troops were moving forward along the front. He also warned that Ukraine would seek to further destabilize border regions. Putin said that the main task now is to knock out the enemy. Dasha Cherneshova reporting in Moscow for DD India.
Meanwhile, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said the war was not now coming back to Russia. He said Ukraine's cross-border assault was a matter of security for Ukraine and that Kyiv had captured areas from where Russia launched strikes.
It is entirely justified to destroy Russian terrorists wherever they are, wherever they launch their attacks from. Russian military airfields, Russian logistics. We can see the benefits this can bring in bringing peace closer. Russia needs to be forced into peace, especially if Putin is so set on fighting.
Well, a fire broke out at the Russian-controlled Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant over the weekend, and Russia and Ukraine once again accused each other of causing the blaze. The fire was extinguished by Monday morning, but the perpetrator remains unclear. The International Atomic Energy Agency warned that these attacks endanger nuclear safety and increase the risk of a nuclear accident. Megumi Lim reports for more from Kyiv.
The IAEA said its staff reportedly saw thick, dark smoke rising from the northern part of the 6-reactor plant in southern Ukraine on Sunday after multiple blasts. The fire reportedly began at around 8 p.m. local time and was extinguished by Monday morning. There were no reported signs of elevated radiation. Now, Russia's state nuclear corporation Rosatom claimed the fire had burned for about 3 hours and caused serious damage to the cooling towers, and they accused Ukraine for carrying out 2 drone strikes that caused the fire. Russian Foreign Ministry spokesperson Maria Zakharova accused Kiev of sowing nuclear terror. But from the Ukrainian side, the head of the military administration in Kiev-controlled neighboring Nikopol, where the plant is visible from, said Russian forces had fired on the cooling towers. And Ukraine's nuclear power company Energoatom said Russian arson could have started the blaze, and claimed that Moscow was using these cooling towers to store military equipment. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky called on the IAEA to hold Russia accountable for this provocation. He said that as long as Moscow had control of the nuclear power plant, the situation there will not be normal. The Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant is Europe's largest nuclear power station and has been under Russian occupation since March 2022. All 6 reactors are in a cold shutdown and rely on an external power to keep their nuclear material cool. But because of its proximity to the front lines, nuclear watchdogs have repeatedly raised concerns about safety risks and have issued warnings to stop attacks that endanger nuclear safety. Megumi Lim in Kiev reporting for DD India.
Well, the United States has denied any role in ousting Bangladesh Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, who recently quit her position and fled the South Asian nation. A report in an Indian English daily had cited Hasina as accusing the U.S. of playing a role in ousting her because it wanted control over Bangladesh's St. Martin Island in the Bay of Bengal. The newspaper said Hasina had conveyed that message to it through her close associates, while Hasina's son, Sajid Wajid, in a post on X on Sunday, said she never made any such statement. White House spokesperson Karina Jean-Pierre called the allegations of U.S. interference simply false.
Had no involvement at all. Any reports or rumors that the United States government was involved in these events is simply false. That is not true. This is a choice for and by the Bangladeshi people. We believe that the Bangladeshi people should determine the future of the Bangladeshi government, and that's where we stand. Any allegations, certainly we will continue to say, I have said here, is simply untrue.
Well, Bangladesh's interim government on Monday asked protesters to surrender August 19th all illegal and unauthorized firearms, including the rifles looted from law enforcers during the recent violence. Home Affairs Advisor Brigadier General M. Shekhawat Hussain also apologized to the minorities for the attacks on them, appealing to the country's majority community to protect the minorities.
A week after the exit of Sheikh Hasina and the appointment of a new interim government, violence in Bangladesh is yet to subside. In one such incident on Monday, local madrasa students removed a board saying Father of the Nation Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman Expressway of the Dhaka-Mawa Expressway in Munshi-Ganj. They replaced it with a banner that read Father of the Nation Hazrat Ibrahim Expressway. Mobs still rule the streets, targeting minorities. Police are yet to take control of at least 40 police stations. After a work abstention for about a week, police personnel are slowly returning to their duties. There were attacks on many police stations across Bangladesh following the fall of the Awami League-led government. Since then, police personnel have been abstaining from work, citing safety concerns. Students have been seen managing traffic on roads in Dhaka and other parts of the country in the last few days. So much so that the Home Affairs advisor had to warn the police to return to their respective police stations, otherwise they would be deemed as unwilling to continue working. The Home Affairs advisor on Monday also asked protesters to surrender by the 19th of August all illegal firearms, including rifles looted from law enforcers during the recent violence. He also apologized to minorities for attacks against them.
It is every citizen's duty to protect the minorities. The majority in particular must ensure their safety. If they fail to do so, they too must answer. I apologize to my minority brothers because we are passing through a period of chaos. At many places, society gave protection. I apologize that police, RAF and other forces which could be deployed were not done as their condition is not good. They will come back. I would request the larger society They, the minorities, are your brothers. You up together, be by their side, stand by any oppressed people.
In India, Union Home Minister Amit Shah reviewed the ongoing situation in Bangladesh on Monday and its implications for the northeast. Steps to be taken to ensure the safety of the borders were discussed in the meeting, and an appeal was made to all to maintain peace and harmony. Meanwhile, a group of eminent citizens from India wrote an open letter expressing concern and urging action to stop attacks against Hindus in Bangladesh. Bureau Report, DD India.
Well, Bangladesh Foreign Affairs Minister Mohammad Tawhid Hussain reiterated on Monday that Sheikh Hasina's extended stay in India will not negatively impact the bilateral relations between Bangladesh and India. The comments came after Hussain briefed diplomats in Dhaka. Hussain pointed out that India has its interest in Bangladesh, just as Dhaka has its interest in Delhi. Meanwhile, Home Affairs Advisor Brigadier General M. Shekhawat Hussain urged the political parties to take steps to prevent scattered violence, including incidents like attack on minority communities. And for more, DD India's Naval Singh Parmar joins us from East India's Kolkata, and Kunal Shinde joins us from Northeast India's Agartala. Good morning to both of you. My first question to you, Naval Singh. 11 Bangladeshi nationals have been apprehended on border while infiltrating into India on the border. What's the situation there right now?
Well, the situation in Bangladesh day by day improving, though it is not normal. But since yesterday, police force started performing their duties and they took the charge of traffic in the streets and roads of Dhaka. So now the situation is improving. The business and the banking and the offices, including private offices, now functioning. But yet the schools and the colleges in the Bangladesh are yet to come to the normal before the what it was before the coup or the we can say the resignation of Sheikh Hasina. Schools are not at the its normal situation because many people or many parents don't want to send their student to school. Those are far away from the schools and colleges. So that is the things. And second thing, today interim government chief advisor Muhammad Yunus is scheduled to interact with the leaders and the members of the community, society, minority society here in Bangladesh. And as you mentioned in your report that the home advisor Shekhawat Hussain had said that they are requested and apologized for the violence and the incidents with the minority community. Second thing, he also asked Hasina to come back Bangladesh and reorganize her party. He praised the contribution of Awami League party. That is the major thing that interim government is willing to have a Awami League party, which is one of the largest party, and it has contributed a lot in Bangladesh. And he asked and he acknowledged the contribution of Awami League party. And he asked Sheikh Hasina and Awami League leadership to reorganize party because he said that there are many face Awami League who can do better as a political party, and so it seems that they are willing to have a democratically elected government very soon in Bangladesh. They are willing to have an election in Bangladesh, but before that they need to have a democratic institution which is very much important for the democracy and the election in the Bangladesh. So that is the good development I can see from here in Kolkata.
Right. Right. My next question to you, Kunal. There has been a gathering of a large number of minorities, if you talk about in Bangladesh, across other sides of wire fencing in several places in the last 2 days. What's the situation there?
Well, in Agartala, the situation is normal. But yesterday, as we know, like 12 to 15 Bangladeshis, they were trying to cross over towards the Indian side in Pahar Mura area near the border outpost. It is in Khowai district, in neighboring Khowai district. So because of the inclement weather, these 12 to 15 Bangladeshi nationals, they were trying to take this opportunity to cross over towards the Indian side. However, the alert BSF Jawans, troops who are posted along the border, along the 856-kilometer long border, so they were alert, they were on high vigil, and they thwarted this attempt. They foiled the attempt of these Bangladeshi nationals who were trying to cross over towards the Indian side. Also, as many as 4 Bangladeshi nationals were also detained in Nandan Nagar locality of Agartala yesterday by the Agartala police. Important news from the point of view of security aspect in Tripura and Agartala, which is very near, which is very close by to Bangladesh. So this also signifies and also brings to light how much alert the troops are on the ground in this bordering state of Tripura.
All right. Thank you so much for all that update, both of you. And moving on, Greece's worst wildfire this year spread into the Athens suburbs, forcing hundreds of people to flee as it torched trees, homes and cars and choked busy roads with smoke and ash. Firefighters said flames threatening apartment blocks, schools and parks had reached the deepest into the capital for more than 2 decades. Meanwhile, government has called in help from fellow EU members to tackle the fire that is burning out of control for a second day. And still to come on DD India News Hour. Candlelight vigils are being held across India to protest against the alleged sexual assault and murder of Kolkata doctor. India Meteorological Department issues weather alert across various states. Rain to continue in Delhi NCR throughout the day today. Artist runs portraits of patriots campaign for martyrs to preserve the memories of the soldiers who lost their lives.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked. We just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries, and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I'm Lepa. And moving on, doctors across India will go on a nationwide protest from Tuesday in protest against the alleged sexual assault and murder of a female doctor at a Kolkata medical college on August 9th. Demanding justice, doctors from Indian states including Maharashtra, Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Punjab, Madhya Pradesh, Telangana, Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, Chandigarh, Rajasthan, Gujarat and some faculty associations will join the protest. Meanwhile, a 2-member team of the National Commission for Women arrived in Kolkata on Monday and took cognizance of the matter. Whereas Indian Medical Association wrote a letter to Union Health Minister JP Nadda demanding impartial investigation and speedy trial, IMA also demanded detailed investigation into the circumstances of the crime and immediate steps to improve the safety of doctors, especially women, at the workplace. Well, the resident doctors also took out a candle march to protest against the rape and murder of a female doctor. The protesters expressed their grief and outrage over the tragic death. Well, on to some weather updates now. The weather has shifted dramatically across many parts of India due to persistent heavy rainfall over the past few days. The India Meteorological Department has forecasted continuous rain in Delhi NCR throughout the day today. The IMD has also issued an alert warning of heavy rainfall that could potentially cause disruption in several states until 15th of August. However, precipitation heavy is likely in Arunachal Pradesh until August 15th, in Jharkhand and Odisha until August 16th, in Assam, Meghalaya, Nagaland and Tripura until August 17th, and in West Bengal and Bihar until 18th of August. And now let's take a look at other stories making news today. Preparations are underway at Delhi's Red Fort ahead of India's 78th Independence Day this year. India gained independence on August 15, 1947, ending nearly 200 years of British colonial rule. The customs official at the Chennai International Airport busted exotic pet smuggling of 22 wildlife species from a passenger, Mohammed Mira Sardari, who came from Thailand. Later, both the passenger and receiver were arrested. Noida-based artist is running campaign in the name of Portraits of Patriots to preserve the memories of the soldiers who lost their lives. The artist makes portraits of Indian soldiers killed in action and gives them to their families. And now let's go over to Tanzania. The top members of the country's main opposition party, Chadema, and hundreds of party supporters arrested in mass roundup. The arrest took place as party members were heading to a rally to celebrate International Youth Day. DD India's Daniel Kijo has more on this.
Chadema's party secretary John Mnyika and former presidential candidate Tundu Lissu were among the party leaders detained by police. 2 days before the arrest, police announced that all International Youth Day events would be banned, saying they would lead to riots or civil unrest. Regional police commanders were instructed to stop convoys heading to the city of Mbeya in the southwest of Tanzania. Local authorities arrested hundreds of Chadema members who were heading to Mbeya. Tundu Lissu, one of Tanzania's most outspoken opposition leaders, recently returned home after 4 years in exile in Europe. He also survived an assassination attempt in 2017. Lissu says he returned to Tanzania to campaign for a new constitution and possibly run for presidency in the 2025 general elections. President Samia Suluhu Hassan lifted a ban on political rallies in January last year. The detention of Chadema party leaders and members comes after anti-government protests in both Kenya and Uganda in recent weeks. Daniel Kijo in Dar es Salaam reporting for DD India.
Well, Rwandan President Paul Kagame has promised to preserve peace and national sovereignty moments after he was sworn in for another 5 years. President Kagame won 99% of the vote in the July 15th poll. Only 2 candidates were allowed to stand against him out of 8 who showed interest. Isabel Nakaria reports for more from Kampala.
The swearing-in ceremony was attended by several heads of state among thousands in the capital, Kigali. Rights groups criticized President Kagame's landslide victory as a sign of lack of democracy in Rwanda. In the last 4 elections, President Kagame has won over 90% of the vote. In his inaugural speech, the Rwandan leader reaffirmed his commitment to strengthening democracy and regional security. His government has been accused of backing rebel groups against neighboring DRC and Burundi. DRC's President Felix Tshisekedi did not attend the ceremony. Recently, the international community blamed Rwanda's leader for serious human rights abuses during a deal with the UK to bring asylum seekers to the East African country. Kagame denies all allegations, but some credited him for rebuilding Rwanda after the 1994 genocide that saw more than 800,000 people killed, mostly minority ethnic Tutsis. Isabel Nakiria in Kampala reporting for DD India.
All right, now let's take a look at other stories making news around the world. Spanish NGO Open Arms and the Italian Coast Guard rescued more than 100 migrants at sea off the southern coast of the Italian island of Lampedusa. The rescued migrants included Palestinians, Syrians and Egyptians. British artist Banksy reveals his 8th recent animal-themed artwork in London. The artwork of a rhino appeared spray-painted on a wall in Charlton. Speculations show it is related to recent riots and protests happening in the UK. The Rock, James Cameron, Rochelle Zegler unite for Disney's D23 2024. Walt Disney showcased its coming slate of films in a 3-hour spectacle featuring musical performances and Hollywood celebrity appearances.
Thank you. Step here or
Hollywood actor Vince Vaughn honored with a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, with director and actor Mel Gibson turning out to show his support. Actor Vince has starred in many hit films such as Wedding Crashers and Dodgeball, a true dog story. Pokemon voice actress Rochelle Lillis, who starred in Pokemon TV series, films and video game, dies from breast cancer at the age of 46. Lillis voiced the main Pokemon characters of Misty and Jessie. Her co-star Veronica Taylor announced Lily's death on social media. And still to come on DD India News Hour. The Olympic flag arrives in Los Angeles, marking the countdown to the 2028 Olympic Games. And Indian wrestler Vinesh Phogat's fate hangs in balance as the nation awaits joint silver appeal verdict.
We have with us a very special guest, Olympic bronze medalist Swapnil Kusale. When we talk about you and your journey from TTE to an Olympic bronze medalist,
Journey is quite long and lots of challenges I faced, but it's a good journey for me till now, so I'm happy.
You got a call from Prime Minister Narendra Modi.
He called and say Namaskar Bhau kaise aap, like in Marathi language, so it was good to hear that.
Always welcoming. The vibe of Punjab is larger than life. Warm up to grandeur that's beyond compare. And history that's dotted with bravery. Smiling soul of India, where music, art, cuisine and culture comes together to create an unforgettable impression. Punjab is all set to win your hearts with its unique and colorful extravaganza.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked, we just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I'm Lipak Shukran. On to some business news now. Asian stocks rose on Tuesday, led by Japanese shares on the back of a steady yen, with traders awaiting data, including the U.S. inflation report, to gauge the Federal Reserve's policy outlook after volatile moves last week. Japan's Nikkei rose more than 2% in early trading. MSCI's broadest index of Asia-Pacific shares outside Japan was slightly higher at 556.19. Chinese stocks were little changed in earlier trading, while Hong Kong's Hang Seng index was also flat. And Wall Street stocks closed mixed on Monday as investors braced for a slew of U.S. economic data this week, especially consumer prices, to gauge the outlook for Federal Reserve monetary policy. The Dow Jones Industrial Average fell, the benchmark S&P 500 index and tech-heavy Nasdaq Composite Index closed higher. The Russell 2000 index, focused on small companies, dropped 0.9%. Investors are awaiting Wednesday's U.S. Consumer Price Index reading and retailer earnings to assess demand by shoppers. The CPI data is expected to show headline inflation accelerated 0.2% in July from June, but unchanged at 3% on a year-to-year basis. While you're watching DD India News, time now for some sports news. The Olympic flag arrives in Los Angeles, marking the countdown to the 2028 Games. Multiple athletes, Mayor Bass, and the official flag arrived at Los Angeles on Monday. A day prior, Bass took the flag from IOC President Thomas Bach, who had taken it from Paris Mayor Anne Hidalgo during a star-studded glittery ceremony. The 2028 Olympics will commence from July 14th, whereas the Paralympics will start from August 15th. Well, all eyes will now be on Los Angeles 28. In the summer of 2028, Los Angeles will welcome the world for an unparalleled Olympic and Paralympic Games experience as the best athletes from around the globe compete on the biggest stage in sports. The opening ceremony of Olympic Games will take place on July 14, 2028, whereas the opening ceremony of the Paralympic Games will take place on August 15, 2028. Hollywood star Tom Cruise added a cinematic flair to the closing ceremony of the Paris Games, where in a dramatic stunt he rappelled from the roof of France's National Stadium to receive the Olympic flag, symbolically marking the transition from Paris to Los Angeles as the next Olympic host. The flag's journey through Los Angeles was a celebration of the city's rich history and culture. It passed through the hands of U.S. Olympians, both past and present, as it travelled across the city, culminating in a beach party featuring performances by Los Angeles music legends like the Red Hot Chili Peppers, Billie Eilish and Snoop Dogg, alongside Dr. Dre. Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass acknowledged the high bar set by Paris, but emphasized Los Angeles' unique identity as a beacon of diversity. An Indian wrestler, Vinesh Phogat's fate hangs in balance as the nation awaits joint silver appeal verdict today. Indian wrestler Vinesh Phogat, who secured a place in the final of women's 50 kg freestyle bout, was unexpectedly disqualified from competing due to her being overpaid in the final weigh-in. The heartbroken wrestler filed an appeal with the CAS on Wednesday, requesting a joint silver medal. The CAS deferred the decision to August 13th, which the nation eagerly awaits. And India's flag bearer at the closing ceremony, Manu Bhaker and P.R. Rajesh, were facilitated by Indian Olympic Association at a closing ceremony. Speaking on the occasion, Indian men's hockey team goalkeeper P.R. Rajesh said that it is a great honor, whereas double Olympic medalist Manu Bhaker said that this will be cherished for a lifetime. Take a listen.
It's a great honor. Last tournament.
Bharat Mata ki!
Last tournament, and got this opportunity to carry the flag in the closing ceremony. So fantastic. And Manu, 2 medals, great Olympics for her. How do you feel?
I feel great, and carrying the flag in the closing ceremony would be an honor of a lifetime, and I'll always cherish this memory.
Well, Australia's Yvonne Jaspan and Katie Porter won the first GKA Kite Park League World Championships in Oregon, USA. Jaspan secured his 3rd consecutive title, while Porter dominated the women's event.
Years. I know that everybody can see it. That's the way that it's been writing.
Well, lions at the Oregon Zoo were the stars of their own movie on Monday as they stole a hidden camera set up in their enclosure and proceeded to paw at it, carry it and yawn into it. According to a zoo post on Facebook, zookeepers hid the camera in the lion habitat the previous week. Within days, the lions found it. All right, that's all for this edition of DD News, DD India News Hour. But let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Nipakshi Khurana from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour.